Hello and welcome to Pro Wrestling 101. I am your host, JP John Paz. With me today is, of course, the Saudi, what is it, Saudi Devil? What the heck is his name?
Saudi
Saudi Dottie. We likes to potty. Now I got it. Little Public Enemy reference there. He
uh,
is the hacker himself. Lottie Dottie Dottie. Saudi like to potty. Saudi Dottie. Mr. Bin Hamin. Bin, what's going on? How you doing?
Y'all, Slick John Paz. Good to be back here on the PW 101 with the two-man power trip, dude. And happy crown jewel to you as we bring in the 20-year reign of Bin Hamin and victory in Afghanistan, victory in America, crushing everyone with COVID, and obviously the 20th anniversary of one of my biggest high spots ever. And here we are celebrating back in the home country of Hamin.
Now this is a perfect Pro Wrestling 101 question. And
Yeah.
let's see if you can answer it. Why are the women wearing shirts and long sleeves and like weird outfits that I've never seen them wear before?
But no head covering. So in the last 2 years, there's been a lot of really big changes culturally there. I feel like it's surface level, but it is a change where no women don't have to wear hijab anymore. They can if they want, but they can have their hair uncovered. They can drive. Men and women can hold hands in public at the mall, and there's no separate, like there used to be separate theaters and stuff for each one if there was even theater at all. So
Wow.
Starbucks is everywhere, and I'm sure out in more remote areas of Saudi, it's more traditional. But in Riyadh and big centers, there Bin Salman has really made a cultural shift. You can call it Americanization. I just call it regular liberty, under any religious zealotry. So, now to answer your question, it only goes so far. So women in sports, have to remain, I guess, whatever the definition of unattractive or unattainable at the time, trying to, make it about the sport and not their sexuality. So,
Right.
you'll even see that in the Olympics of some of them having the full length sleeves on underneath it. And then, but like, then we get to a ridiculous level of, okay, it's Queen of the Ring. The Queen's wearing a t-shirt. Okay.
Right.
we we're calling these people queens who are at the top of the food chain, but we're bowing down for Saudi money and religious zealotry that keeps women unobjectified sexually, when Zelina Vega usually wears a bikini to the ring most of the time. So
And what she wore on Raw was like she had side boobs, she had the leg, hanging out. It was like wow, like sexy queen here. Now it's like
yeah,
covered up in a t-shirt.
and less
Okay.
makeup and less makeup too.
Yeah, no makeup. Yeah.
Yeah, dude, they're one small step for man, one giant leap for, I'm not sure, mankind or Mecca, but yeah, dude, that's still where we are in a lot of remote areas of the world. And a power shift, if there was a coup d'etat within the royal family and Bin Salman got Khashoggi himself, they could be back to throwing who they think are homosexuals off the roofs of clubs, because they've done that. There's footage of that. That have people hanging from cranes, like religion is the biggest poison that's ever been poured into the earth, in my opinion, bro. It's responsible for so much division when it preaches love and understanding. So, yeah, that's all a part of why I am who I am too, to draw attention. They still haven't answered for the 19 hijackers, right? Oh,
Right. No. No. Yeah.
so shine a little light. And all this that you're seeing is a front load PR scam from Bin Salman, because they've got $160 billion weapons deal. They showed the planes flying overhead, right? On there. Where do you think they got F-16 fighters? you know,
Absolutely.
this front load of WWE is nothing more than the packaging of America. But dude, hey, the crowd was hot. They were having a good time out of the gate. But after Edge and Rollins tore it down, good luck following that. They just picked all the fruit off the tree. So I think this show was misbooked out of the gate, because up next in a palate cleanser is Ali and Mansoor. You should have started with that, because when they try to do a false finish, nobody bid on shit, because they blew them all in the very first opening match.
Right.
Having the hometown boy go over in the opener would have been established wrestling and had that feel good feeling.
Yeah.
Edge and Seth had a huge feel good feeling, and as hardcore as it was, but should we didn't build the show. We gave them we gave them everything. We gave them the Death Star exploding, all that right in the first 40 minutes. Now we get to go back out and try and redo the story again. Like just missed booking in my mind, man. But who
It
knows? Maybe Ben Solomon wanted it that way.
it seems like a lot of the times these production guys and the ring crew, they want to set up the ring. They have enough time to do that. Then it's easier for them to take it down. I mean, not the ring, the cage. I mean, so it's like, okay, get the cage, get the cage. We could do it. Take however long. Set up the cage and take down. We got to do quick and then do the rest of the
They
card.
raised it
I've
right
noticed that.
after the match, though. I mean,
So then that's different. I thought maybe they had some different setup where they wanted to get it out there first and then get rid of it. Oh, then that doesn't make sense. Then okay,
yeah,
weird.
I mean, a
Because
thousand
I've seen
things.
like Ring of Honor or something where they have the cage, they'll put it up either first or last because they have literally guys taking it apart.
Oh
But
yeah,
I didn't realize that in Saudi Arabia they just did the old school bring it up to the ceiling thing.
right up. Yeah, at the
Yeah.
end of the match, they were raising it up to give Edge's
Oh,
prop.
forget that then. Okay.
But yeah, just the way I like to build a show, I understand start with a bang. But there's smaller bangs that you can lead up to the big bang. You just don't drop your big nuke out of the gate, you know.
So for this episode,
Yeah, man.
Pro Wrestling 101 got a request. They wanted you to talk about the three-way dance, the triple threat, sometimes used to be referred to as the triangle match, but basically how it works. Like, how do you do it? My first inkling is like, man, is it just a one-on-one match? Is it a two-on-one match? Like, how do you? I know there's different scenarios, but how do you break it down? And when you have a triple threat match backstage, you're like, oh man, this sucks. Now we got to add another person to the equation and try to figure this stuff out. Because for the most part, I can only name maybe a handful of matches that have three guys in it. You know what I mean? It's harder for sure.
Yeah, and it shouldn't just be thrown together unless it's like a contenders thing and you got three guys. But there's a lot of different scenarios that you can come up with in heel versus baby, three baby faces like that are competitors. You know, you can have it as a disadvantage of a baby face from underneath. And you can, I mean, the first thing is it one fall to a finish or is it elimination? Because one of my favorite triple threats of all time was elimination. And it might not be as exciting. It can be. I mean, it definitely was. But for me, Taz, Masato Tanaka, and Mike
And Mike
Austin,
Awesome. Yeah.
one of my favorite matches in ECW history, let alone triple threat, because the surprise out of the gate was that Taz lost. And after this huge long run, as he was going to move to WWE and do business on the way out. Now, when he got pinned, people were like, holy shit, we're going to have a new champ tonight of somebody who's never been champ before. That is a very strange thing to have happen in the middle of a match. And only the triple threat affords that
Yep.
with elimination possibly.
Yeah, it was pretty cool.
I think that's a very unique thing that gets lost in triple threats when people book them. That was a very smart thing to do to have Taz go out because rarely in the middle of a match do you feel that injection of, oh, I wasn't expecting, you know what I mean? I was expecting it'll be Taz versus somebody in the main and then maybe they'll beat the champ, but that was cool. So there's other ways of the heels being up on the baby face for them to be underneath. Let's say it's not elimination, right? And he's got to fight from underneath or every man for themselves, kind of, if they're not tagging together. But the easiest way to work it and do it how I would, because I don't want to have to pull time with guys like Sean Carr or high flyers that much. I would probably take something nasty and lay out on the outside till I had my time to come. And that's usually the easiest way that you'll see it booked is it starts off with three guys who's going to fight who, and then two guys will end up beating down one guy, and then one guy will turn on another guy, right? So you see with the pecking order, the upper hand, and that there's really no friends in this, or the heels will take out the baby, and then the more over heel, I guess, will heel on the lesser one. Until it's time for the baby to come back in, or they fall apart and make a mistake, and he gets them both back down. So
Right.
I would lay out because the triple threat match is going to be the main thing is high action. You've got another guy in the match. The action should be quicker paced. So that means you're going to want quicker paced guys doing it. Because otherwise, if you have big hosses, it's just going to be a brawl with them smashing each other around on the outside. following around, which is fine. I mean, if you're going to go hardcore, that's the other thing of a triple threat match. There's no rules. It's really a DQ match because there's not going to be any count out, with three guys. Nobody's going to get DQ'd. So it's up to, does a heel want to use a weapon? And then any triple threat match can really become a hardcore match based upon the abuse of that rule if you're going to pay off the retribution in it. You can keep it clean. Like I said, if it's for a number one contendership, then you might not want to go that way. If you got three baby faces and you're just doing, let's say you got Matt Sydal, Daniel Bryan, and CM Punk, right? Sick match, sick triple threat, but none of those guys should really be healing out on each other. They should just be out wrestling each other until somebody gets taken out with something big so the other two can face off. Or right when you think somebody's about to get up on another person, the third person should constantly be cutting that person off. Not every time, but in the chain of 1 and 2, the third person should do the cutoff, and then 3 kind of becomes 2 and 3, and then 1 can do the cutoff. So we trade it back and forth, kind of like jazz musicians. You know what I mean? Like, here's our time, here's your time, here's my time, here's this spot that we get to that we tease, and we take it away from them to put the heat on one guy. Is that easy to follow, or am I talking
Yeah,
wrestling?
definitely. I just feel like, do you think there's almost too much going on sometimes in a triple threat match?
That's what it should be. Like, it should be too much going on. If you could really rename the match, that's what it is, right? Too much going on. But if you measure it the right way, or you can figure out a way to keep focus on what part of the story you want it to be on, that's where those guys, let's say it was Usos and they had to take out I don't care, give me somebody, Kevin Owens, right? They're gonna heal on Kevin Owens, he's gonna be done, and then Usos, like one of them, it really wants the title shot, so Jimmy is gonna heal on Jay in a not so super bad way, or do it over, like, just lay down, bro. No, you lay down, Us, and then back and forth, and then we get a brother backyard brawl until the high spot comes, and then Kevin Owens comes through and wrecks them both and tears it back down. Then he fucks one off, and then he gets on that, or he just stays House of Fire on both of them, ping-ponging them in the corner, going corner to corner to get shit going crazy and really up the energy until they cut him off, and Usos got to work together again to get Kevin Owens out of there. And then the other Uso should heal on the other one at that point because he got healed on first. And then we're back to it. See how we exchange those bars back and forth?
Yep.
So that's, I think, a good, like, okay, here's two heels who got to work together to get up on the baby face, but at the end of the day, greed is the story, and so is the triumph of getting that shot. And what will they do to stab each other in the back? DTA, don't trust nobody, right? So but if it's babyface, like I said before with Daniel Bryan, Punk, and who did I say the other one was? Daniel Bryan,
Matt Sydal.
Sydal. Sure, you could put Darby in there too, but whatever.
Yep.
There should be all the get your shit in stuff where guys do it, and Darby has Daniel Bryan lined up to do the big table bump on the outside, and Daniel Bryan moves. Darby takes himself out. Daniel Bryan even goes, "Oh my God, that was fucking nasty," right? Turns, eats something from Punk. Punk puts him in there, does the go to sleep. Daniel Bryan gets out of it some way, hits him with a back elbow, whatever. Punk comes back in, hits the go to sleep. That's been enough time for Darby to start to come through. 1, 2, pull Punk out. You know what I mean? That's, nobody's healing on anybody, and Darby took himself out. So there's a lot of high spot stuff that you can do and hit the shit. Like, a lot of times here's my point. A lot of times, like, the threat of violence is just as important as the violence itself, which means we can ease a Death Valley driver and somebody can get out of it. And in the crowd's mind, they've seen the Death Valley driver. It checks it off the list. In these matches, you can hit big finishers and do a lot more saves. They're not really saving the guy in the match. You're saving from the loss because you want to win the match.
You don't want to lose. Yeah. Yep.
Right. So that happens in the the version that is not elimination, because otherwise, fuck it, pin them, get them the fuck out of here. Because as soon as it's 1, 2, 3, I'm gonna drop it on you because now I only got 2 opponents to worry about. So that's the real big difference in those two styles of matches, where the save, and usually people are like, get your shit in. Yeah, that's a match where you can and make it look like a finisher as long as the third opponent is breaking up the pin there. So I like that bit of psychology in a triple threat. Now, it's only high level players like Punk, Seidel, and Daniel Bryan who are thinking about it at that level. You know what I mean? And you're not going to see old Hacker doing no 450s. Fucking, but if I could easily hit Punk with something, fuck him off. Daniel Bryan and I can lock up. I overpower him, get him in the camel clutch, and then Punk can come in and hit me with the knee in the face, and I'm effed over there, right? And then even the baby faces can get me in the corner, shoot me off. I come back around, they give me the double suplex. Crowd's pumped about it. Go up and get him, brother. You know, Daniel Bryan goes up, hits me with a big splash or whatever, and Punk counts 1, 2, 3 with him in an elimination version of that. That's how that sequence would go. You know, like you're almost going to be pumped to work together to get to that next level in the video game that is the triple threat.
There has been a countout in the triangle match. If you go back to Starrcade '95, Sting, Luger, and Flair, but they made sense where Luger was kind of a tweener, and Sting was trying to get back in the ring, and Luger knew he couldn't get back in the ring, so he held on to Sting, so Sting wouldn't get back in, and Flair ends up winning. It just perfect setup because it almost was like, wow, Luger, I thought you were Sting's friend. You don't want him to win. You can't, you can't win because he was literally laid out. He just held on to Sting's leg. He couldn't get
Why
back in
is
the
there,
ring.
sorry, I don't want to interrupt, but why is there a count out in a triple threat?
I don't know. I think it was to make sure because Sting, Luger, and Flair all were going to fight a few times on that card. It was when New Japan came in for the cup, so they were trying to like protect certain guys. They didn't want certain guys to lose, so they needed Flair to win, so he would face Savage later on for the title. But they didn't want Sting and Luger to lose because they both just beat the guys from New Japan in the cup. So it was interesting booking. I was just like, oh, that's kind of interesting, but it really teased like, wow, is Luger a heel or a face? Like, what the hell? He just screwed Sting.
Yeah, well, yeah. If I can't have the cake, nobody can, and then you
Right,
sneeze.
that's exactly it. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
But what's interesting to me, and it's not wrong. I just I don't remember that match, so thank you for breaking that down. But it sparks the psychology in my mind of that means that the match everybody had to be in the ring at the same time doing stuff, which is going to be a double
This
team.
was weird. This was the only match I've seen like this. You actually had a tag in and out. That's why they called it the quote unquote triangle match. You had a tag in and out. It was
So
weird.
you had to wait until a guy fucking got shot in your corner and blind tag him pretty much. Because why would
Yep.
you want to tag the guy out and put yourself in a position where you might not win the match?
Yeah, it was really weird. It was like the first time WCW ever kind of did that. It was really different, but they were playing off Sting and Luger, so sometimes they would tag each other in, and Luger was almost being like, "Yeah, I don't care if you win," but then in the end, you find out he did care.
Yeah. That's
It was
interesting.
yeah,
That's interesting. Not my cup of tea, but like
yep,
because the
different than any
psychology,
I've seen.
right? Because the psychology is, in my mind, the basic psychology of if it's not elimination and it's all three guys are in there, you got to beat one guy down enough to fuck him off so you can beat the other guy that you've already got down and pin him. So to me, it's like big finisher on the one dude, and the other guy's either fucked off before that, or you got to get him out of there quick so you can cover and have that time while he's coming back in and just misses the 3 count. You know what I
Yep.
mean? So to not have that, and the tag in thing is very weird because that's just
Yeah, it
classic.
was. I've never seen that
That
before or
doesn't make
since.
any
Yeah,
sense.
it was weird.
It
Yep.
doesn't make sense, but it does in the finish. So they warp the match psychology to fit whatever the relationship is, and I don't have a problem with that. I'm just not a big Sting or Lex Luger guy. But that eliminates so much of how you could tell other stories by having a count out. Like, because to me, you got to get rid of one guy to do the other, and that means getting him out of the ring. Because how are you gonna, unless you're hit him with a knockout blow or choke a guy out, which you've already done. So why would you beat that? So you choke the guy out, so he's down. So you then can go hit your finisher on the other guy and
And try
beat
to
him.
win. Yep.
That's one of the only ways I can see that working, which it would be all right. But if you choke the guy out, then is that not a win? So, because the other guy should be coming to stomp your head in. So, that's classic WCW weirdness to me.
It was
You
different.
ever seen the match like that, like done like that with a count out since?
No, never. Before or after. No, never. Usually it's like the AJ, Samoa Joe, Chris Daniels, which is might be the best three-way, Dave Meltzer 5 stars, all this other stuff, but
Sure.
awesome match. But they were all trying to win. Then Daniels would take AJ out. Then Daniels gets back in there, tries to get Joe, and really smart.
That's more of a four-way thing with like, even though four-way is the same rules, you could do count out that way because guys are going to go to the corner and anybody can blind tag in. So you got to keep your guy in your own corner most of the time if you can. But at the same time, guys are going to feed in and it'll break down. But in the end, if it's not elimination, guys have to F each other over so it clears the way. You're all clear, kid. Han Solo to take the shot and do the 1, 2, 3. So those are all like little offshoot premises of the classic three-way dance. But in my opinion, if it's not elimination, then the whole strategy is getting one guy out of the ring and or knocked out so you can go for the pin on the other side.
Do you
Uh,
call it in the ring, or do you just kind of go over it backstage? Because that's got to be hard with three guys calling in the ring, no?
oh, it's almost always everything nowadays is put together backstage. But we just had the last one I was involved with was managing, and it was I forget his new name. I call him the
Blaze Haram.
it wasn't Blaze, but we should have a three-way with me, him, and Rick Recon and beat the shit out of Recon. Is GGP, the Punjabi Lion, who's now in AEW with Matt Hardy. He's awesome. I can't remember what his new gimmick Indian name is, forgive me, but a great worker and killer physique. And Sean Carr, up Northeast zone, a huge baby face all for many years here. All highly competent workers who all could be on anybody's roster. I think Sean Carr, who's Carr working somebody major. I mean, he's worked everybody from Matt Hardy, and he's got a big match. I want to look this up actually, and just because I got to put him over for how much he's done for wrestling in upstate New York. He's part owner, I think, of Excite Wrestling now, if not running their training center and everything as well. So, he's Cardona, Sean Carr versus Zack Ryder. So,
Nice.
like he's had big match experience, big match. I think he's worked Cody or whatever. But in that match, they know who's going to get effed off and who's going to, what's going to happen. And GGP is going to powder and just like let them go at it or whatever. But in that, dude, I think Punjabi Lion hit Carr with a super kick, or Carr was going into the buckle, I think, maybe, and took the buckle. Bro, lights are out, snapped out. He rolls out to the ground. I look down at him because I know, what my spots are. And I go, I don't remember this, him rolling out here. He looks up to me. He's like, Hamin, I'm fucked up. He's like, I don't know where I am, man. I was like, Sean, chill, bro. I got this. So I go over and I'm like, yo, Lord GGP, because GGP's looking over. I was like, Cars, like, in whatever. They can't hear what I'm saying. Like, Cars, knock the fuck out. You guys put a little time. So I go back to check on Carr, get him setting up a little bit. He goes over. I go, sell to the gate, man. Get some air. And I go, he's going to sell over there. Give him 60 seconds to Punjabi Lion, who's in the corner, and then go get him. Carr comes back to life after having his bell rung. Lion comes out, throws him back in the ring, and they pick up from where they had to go. But you want to talk about calling it on the fly. Thankfully, I was there to be like, I got you, bro, and I can stand over you and I can and give them information to be like, whatever. Because otherwise, now we're going like cars down and out, and we got to do a little something here. But usually when it's going to be these high spots or double team spots, like a double suplex and whatnot, that's all going to be, figured in backstage and the way shit's put together nowadays, because otherwise in it's hard enough in a singles match, let alone a triple threat, to make sure when you're down and out, you got to know the spot that's coming from the other guys as your time to start selling back up. Okay. So it's not in a singles match, it's what I have to do or where we're going. In a triple threat, it's I got to keep an eye out for this while I'm down. And then, you know what I mean? Or there's going to be some type of cue where I go to get the chair and you'll hear the bang, bang, and the ref takes it, or the clang, clang. That means you got to get up and pull the chair while I come back over so I can turn around, turn back, eat the insecurity from Shankar. Sell, you hit me in the head with the chair. I sell back the other way, suplex, 1, 2, 3. He's out of there, right? Like those are the back and forth spots where you can do interesting things in a triple threat that you can't do in a regular match because that's an instant DQ or it's got to kind of happen afterwards. But you can do these hardcore fanciful spots to set guys up that backfire on them and hit it on them. And even it could go back suplex after that sequence. 1, 2, reach in and pull the legs of the guy who's pinning them and F
Right.
up that pin. It doesn't need to be the elimination right there. See the choices you have in a triple threat that to someone who's got their master's degree in this or is a real artist, you can paint some very interesting pictures of the rhythm of wrestling and getting your shit in that we would usually miss, having it hit, and then having the third guy be the manipulator to break that shit up. I think that's what really makes triple threats so much more special. And they've been pimped out, sure. And the easiest way to do it is to fuck one guy off and just have two guys go until he breaks it up. And like that's the kindergarten version of it. It can get a lot bigger than that. And I think was it Rob Van Dam, Jerry Lynn, and somebody else. I can't remember. Wasn't Lance Storm maybe? I thought there was one. Yeah, there was an original one that was like a super get your shit in festival. I can't remember what it was, but it was next level of how to like hit it, break it up, hit it, break it up, hit it. And so everybody was, and the crowd was biting on everything. So the story is really a false finish story. It's not a pin drill story. It's a get your shit in and get the pin, and who's hungrier in the scrum for the ball. It feels like the match to me should feel like fumble and everybody's scrambling, to get there, get to it. So it's got a frantic and frenetic pace to it. So knowing that, where do you need that on your show after a very ground and pound, meticulous wrestling match, and you really want to kick it in the next gear, not coming on the heels of a high spot match. That's the wrong place to put that. So.
I always feel like, where did that come from? You know what I mean? I know somewhere on the Indies or somewhere in the territories, I think early '90s, and then ECW kind of saw it and they kind of popularized it. Really, made it the three-way dance, and then they kind of changed it to triple threat. But basically, I think the first one I saw was like Sabu, Shane, and Terry Funk. Might have been one of the first, but I don't. Where did it come from originally? Because to me, and it's like boxing or UFC, and Sullivan always says it too. The poster. Wrestling, you got Hogan, you got like the two guys in the poster. That's what I want to see. So when the hell did they add in, like the third guy, or who thought that was a good idea?
Yeah, I don't know if that was early
Weird.
Vince or in the 70s. I got to believe it was done. It's all been done before. I got to believe it's been done in the 60s and 70s in the South, right? But what's the storyline going into it? Is it two heels roping a baby face in at a disadvantage?
Right.
Like what was the first storyline that made that happen? And there's a couple of options. Like I said, you could have 3 number 1 contenders. You have 2 guys who are top contenders, and then the guy wins something, and they got and we're adding him in here. Like, what? A 3-way? Like, how's that going to be? And it's the newness of the match, because I think in the 50s, when they were trying to keep kayfabe real, even though people obviously knew wrestling was whatever.
Yep.
Well, I don't know. Maybe they did it in London in the 50s and shit. They had fucking launch pads with guys going over the fucking top rope. You remember that? Like
yeah. Oh yeah.
The springboard shit. So who's to say? Like I think Al Snow would be a great resource for that, of early matches that we're thinking of. We think ECW and WWF because that's what we came up on, but I gotta believe they were doing that shit long before, back in the Gorgeous George era. But what is the catalyst storyline that would have been one of the first things to really make that believable, instead of just throwing 3 guys into a spot fest?
And it's funny. So the first one that I could really find is '93 Smoky Mountain. It was like a tag team triple threat, but then ECW kind of did it and with the Shane Douglas, Terry Funk Sabu, the night the line was crossed, like that
And that
kind of
was a
made it
real
famous.
hardcore version, like, that wasn't that with, like, guardrails and everything,
Yeah,
that
oh
one?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's just funny to think like I feel like Cornette, Heyman, like who's thinking of these weird, like I guess that's almost like a Memphis kind of thing too. It's like these weird ass, pull it out your ass kind of
Yeah, I
strange
gotta believe
angles.
Jerry Jarrett or Lawler did it before that.
Yeah,
I gotta believe that, bro.
because
You know?
it's so different. Because in a real fight, you would never have like, hey, Fury versus Wilder versus Joshua, like and then it just seems so
Well, yeah,
weird
the other
sometimes.
part of that is usually there's an undercard story going on that's the blood feud, and one guy is the babyface is usually trying to transition out of that into the title chase, and he gets his title chase match, and the heel worms his way into it to make it a triple threat. That's another, kind of bigger storyline where and that heel that worms his way in should cost the babyface the title to keep the baby from getting it because he wormed his way in, and then the baby goes over on the new champ heel, and that will make the baby not putting the baby over in the triple threat over the heel. Crowd will pop. It won't be as big of a level as if the heel one got more heat and then do paid off the single. So, and another thing, a triple threat can be a good heel win in kind of the beginning of the third act for your characters, and by the third act I mean like kind of the finish of your storyline. In the beginning of that, to put more heat on the heel, so when he has to slay the dragon at the end, it'll mean that much more. If you slay him right there in the beginning of the third act, now he just has to hold it and retain. There's no more heat. He only has to face the contender beforehand. And really, the heel should have to face the former champ and can go over on that champ in a heel way. And when the baby face that was in the undercard story faces the top heel for the championship, the former champ can come in and be the catalyst to fucking throw the knuckles after they both got
Yeah, yeah,
over by the heel to fucking do whatever. And the crowd will bite on the babies doing the heel retribution at that time.
you got to do it. You got to get them back.
I hope that like sometimes I go on these things in my head. I'm like, I hope they can follow this of what I'm trying to put together out here.
I'm picturing it in my head.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are deep wrestling questions, and sometimes and I'm very pumped that Al Snow's coming to the brand, and because he can really cut to the heart of these things. I'm trying to put it together from the knowledge I've accrued from my mentors, from what I've seen all throughout the years and my career, and not necessarily being in a lot of triple threats, but knowing why their functionality is can be important in the storyline or where it needs to be in the show for a change in energy. That they really lend themselves to an interesting turn in the show and the long-term storyline if you can get to that point and why, you know.
Yep.
The working, it's a different story altogether.
So did I miss anything, or did we miss anything?
I'm sure somebody last week is like about gear at Pop Me because I don't know if I saw it said this.
Oh,
Wash
stinky gear.
your fucking gear. And I've been guilty of this on long trips, but dude, once your knee pads start smelling like cat piss, you're the worst person in the locker room, especially if you just body spray them with Axe and shit like that. And you scumbags, wash your gear after, or at least if you're on a long road and you get back, hang your shit up if you can, or open your bag and like let it air out. But
Yeah.
you throw it in the back for 5 hours, soaking wet singlets. And a lot of guys on the road that are top pros, you'll see like, if they wear little skimpy briefs like a Matt Cardona, he can pack 4 pairs of those, 5 if he's on the road, and they'll put them in Ziploc bags and have them all in there. So the other gear isn't that is musty that you got to carry your shit around isn't making your stuff smell like cat piss. So
Good call.
wash your
Good call.
fucking gear. But there's always, I love doing these, John, the Pro Wrestling 101. I think these are great looks into the microcosm of wrestling and why things are. And really, these infidels should pay me $6,000 because that's what I paid to Rip over the course of my education. And Rip would probably go, fuck that fucking triple threat. You need that shit to get over. That means you don't know how to fucking work, motherfucker. But
I knew he wouldn't like it. Yeah, I knew he wouldn't.
But if you were gonna do it, Rip would have some awesome finishes, and I bet he's been put into more than his fair share, whether it was in Japan, Canada, or Puerto Rico. You just gotta do what's on the sheet, man. And how are we gonna paint with our brush in a unique way? What story are we going to tell? Where are we on the card, and what's happening before us and after us, so we can either reinforce finishes that we're over and make them look like, because if we're fifth on the card right after intermission, and somebody in the first two matches, they win with what? A rolling power slam and a fucking Death Valley driver. Now in my match, when we're doing something and somebody hits a rolling power slam, what should the crowd think?
Over.
Yeah, this could be it right here. And then you stop it and pull, because that's a real false finish because they reinforced it. Same with the Death Valley, comes right on it. Or he goes to hit it and you pull the guy by the feet out of the ring because there's a third guy that can pull. Jimmy can pull Jay to the fucking side. And now they're like, oh, that was a real save, because he would have been dead if he hit him with that. All that shit's important if you really know how to plug your match into a show. But it's few and far between that are putting together even the main shows on TV. This is critical of them, are putting together that level of experience psychologically for their audience. So, but it can be done, man. It absolutely can be done. And I loved the weirdness of these matches and the fast pace, and that it was different than anything else I'd seen when I saw him in ECW. It really made it special.
Yeah, they did some good ones. Yep.
That Stinger Luger one's got me all fucked up.
Yeah, you got to watch it. It's actually pretty good with Flair. Yeah, it's pretty good.
Yeah, who'd he ever be?
But the whole show, it's a good one.
What
But,
was it on? What was it? What pay-per-view?
Starrcade 95.
Okay. All right. That was probably my peak hatred of WCW. So I definitely, because I'm not a Stinger Luger guy, but yeah, dude, I'm a
World Cup of Wrestling. It's pretty good.
All right, I'll definitely check it out, man.
New Japan versus WCW. Very good.
Oh, two of my favorites. Then no selling Japanese guys who don't want to accept real psychology, and a bunch of guys who are making up their own rules as they go along. Love it.
Well, let's head towards the plugs. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at Two Man Power Trip. Check out the website, tmptempire.com, and of course, patreon.com/tmptempire. Ben, what do you got?
Yeah, man, we're over at channelattitude.com, Hamin Media Group shows, reviewing AEW, the Monday and Friday locker rooms with Big Stevie Cool. Had a great time recording that this morning with him. Plenty of other shows. We got all the Impact and SmackDown reviews with all the HMG personalities. Appreciate everybody putting in a lot of hours. Big Ray, the Vet, Colin, Brandon. We've also got Brad Shepard joining the affiliate side, and he's got a new rant show, so we're excited to have a new member in the group. Welcome to him. And if you guys want to join us on, you're already probably there anyway, but Hamin Media Discussion Group, we always have the watch alongs going on. You can go to twitch.tv/Hamin Media, and I'm DJing on Friday nights for the SmackDown Live self-help group, and as much wrestling as I can make it through for AEW afterwards. But yeah, and if you guys want the promo from me, whatever you want. If you want, whoa, baby, yeah, you want a little of me? I think you do. Then go to cameo.com/ Vince McMahon. No, /Ben Hamin. And definitely order those up for your holiday season. Nobody is going to get a better Christmas gift than a Hacker Hamin cameo, man. Or prowrestlingtees.com/Ben Hamin.
Nice. Great stuff. As always, thank you, everybody, for tuning in. See you right back here next week for a little Pro Wrestling 101.